4 decades at sea. Yet a single statistic cuts deeper than any storm. By age 60, you have 30% less muscle torque than you did at 25. That silent erosion turns every winch and every step to the bow into a question of risk. Most sailors just surrender, listing the boat for sale before fear replaces freedom. But what if you could engineer your way past the biological clock and sail another decade in command? Let's confront the truth about aging on deck and what it really takes to keep your boat and your dignity. Every sailor knows the feeling. The boat hasn't changed, but your body has. Science puts a number on it. After age 30, muscle strength drops by 3 to 5% every decade. By 60, you're working with about 30% less torque than you had in your prime. That's not just a gym statistic. It's the reason grinding a winch or hauling yourself forward in a swell feels different now than it did 20 years ago. The hardware on deck hasn't gotten heavier, but your leverage has faded, inch by inch, year by year. This isn't about pride or willpower, it's physics. The same winch that once spun easily under your hand now fights back, demanding more effort for less result. The same walk to the bow, once routine, now asks for balance and reaction time that don't come as quickly as they used to. Studies show experienced sailors are 2 to 3 times more likely to lose balance on a moving surface. Night vision fades too, making a wet deck even less forgiving. These numbers are not a verdict, they are a call to adapt. The difference between selling the boat and keeping command isn't just attitude. It's acknowledging what the numbers mean and refusing to let them dictate your course. The challenge is real, but so is the solution if you're willing to engineer for it. There is a spot on every sailboat that turns even the most experienced skipper cautious. The stretch between the shrouds and the mast is the dead zone. No handholds, no guardrails, just slick fiberglass and the motion of the sea. When you are 25, maybe you do not think twice about it. By 60, one unexpected lurch and you are grabbing at air. I have felt it myself, a sudden roll, the deck tilts, and for a split second you are weightless. If your foot slips or your knee gives out, there is nothing between you and a hard landing against the turnbuckles. Studies back up what every experienced sailor knows in his bones: the risk of losing balance on a moving surface doubles, even triples as we age. The dead zone is where that risk cashes out. I remember a night passage off Cape May, wind building, mainsail flogging. I stepped forward to reef, one hand on the shroud, then nothing. The boat heeled, and I nearly went down, saved only by a desperate grab at a halyard. That was the moment I realized it is not just about strength or pride, it is about physics and probability. The dead zone does not care how many miles you have logged. It is a gap in the boat's defenses, and it gets wider every year you sail. This is not a place for improvisation. It is a design flaw that only gets more dangerous as time goes on. If you want to keep sailing, you need real hardware that turns that dead zone into a safe working space. The boat cannot protect you with hope and habit. It needs steel in the right place. Walk the docks in any serious cruising port, Ushuaia, Nuuk, Hobart, and you will see a pattern. The boats that cross oceans and chase the horizon year after year all wear the same badge up forward, a pair of stainless rails flanking the mast. Expedition builders like Boreal and Garcia do not treat these as accessories. They are standard equipment right alongside storm shutters and watertight bulkheads. On a Boreal 47, those guardrails are welded from 1" 3 1/6 stainless steel, bolted through the deck and braced to take a grown man's full weight in a seaway. Garcia's aluminum hulls show the same commitment, waist-high rails at the mast designed for the Southern Ocean, not the marina. These are not afterthoughts or signs of weakness. They are the mark of a boat meant to be worked, not just admired. High-latitude sailors, people who expect to reef in 40 knots, and who know what it is like to be thrown across a deck at 3 in the morning, do not argue about looks or stigma. They want hardware that keeps them upright when the boat lurches, when the wind howls, when every muscle in your legs is fighting gravity and motion. It is not about age, it is about survival and seamanship. Some dockside critics call them granny bars, as if safety is a punchline. But look at the boats that actually go the distance. The rails at the mast are as much a part of the offshore vocabulary as storm sails or a drogue. They are not a concession to age, they are an upgrade to your boat's perimeter, a force multiplier that turns a dangerous gap into a safe working station. The best builders know it. The best sailors demand it. If you want to keep sailing the boat you love, you need to think like the people who cross the Southern Ocean, add steel where it counts, and let the skeptics stay at the dock. That is why the next step is not a compromise. It is an investment in your own independence. With the right rails, you do not just hold on, you take command, no matter what the weather throws at you. Drilling through a cord deck is not just about making holes, it is about building a foundation you can trust with your life. The right way starts with a pilot hole, then a larger bit to open the top skin, and a careful hand to carve out a ring of core material around each bolt location. That gap, 3/8 of an inch wide, gets filled with thickened epoxy, forming a solid plug that keeps water out of the core and stops the deck from crushing under load. Once the epoxy cures, you re-drill to the final size, 5/16 of an inch for serious hardware, and line up the base plates. A proper mast pulpit does not just bolt down with a washer. It needs a real backing plate, stainless or G10, at least 3 by 6 inches, sometimes 4 by 8 if the boat is bigger or the loads are high. The plate spreads the force across the underside of the deck, turning a single hard pull into a broad, manageable load. Paul the rigger checks the fit, then reaches for the torque wrench. He is not guessing. For 5/16 stainless bolts, the target is about 10 to 15 foot-pounds, just enough to compress the bedding compound into a thin film, but not so much that the plate dishes or the laminate buckles. He works in a cross pattern, watching for even squeeze out of sealant and checking that the deck does not flex or crack. A DIY install can match a pro if you follow each step. Dry fit the hardware, mask the area, and torque in stages. The difference comes down to patience and attention to detail, core isolation, backing plate fit, and a final check for leaks below. Once the nuts are snug and the bedding has set, it is time for the real test. Lean your full weight against the rail and shift your center of gravity. The rail should not budge, the deck should not creak, and the base should feel like it is part of the hull itself. If it passes the lean test, you have turned the dead zone into a safe harbor, one you can trust when the sea gets up and your balance is not what it used to be. The first time you lock an electric winch handle into place, you realize it is not just a gadget, it is a force multiplier. This is the kind of hardware that turns a two-person job into a one-handed operation. The heart of the device is its battery, a lithium-ion pack that delivers steady power through a full hoist or a stubborn sheet trim. Most models run on 24 volts and snap in with the same ease as a cordless drill, but with a lot more muscle. The real test is torque. Manufacturer specs give continuous torque of 60 to 80 Newton meters, with peak bursts up to 150 Newton meters. To put that in perspective, a fit sailor in his 30s might manage 40 or 50 Newton meters for a few seconds at the end of a hard grind. By 60, most of us are lucky to hit 30 Newton meters. The electric handle does not care about birthdays or shoulder surgeries, it just keeps turning, smooth and relentless. You can feather the speed for a gentle trim or hit max power to muscle through a loaded Genoa, all without breaking a sweat. Safety is built in. Each unit has a built-in cutout. Let go of the trigger or hit a jam and the motor stops instantly. No runaway handles, no chance of a wrist-twisting kickback. The battery clicks out for charging or swap, and the whole tool weighs about 5 pounds, light enough to pass up from the cockpit, but heavy enough to feel solid in your hand. This is not a toy. It is a portable crew that works every winch on the boat, rain or shine. You can raise the main, reef, trim sheets, even hoist the dinghy, all with one tool and one hand. For the first time in years, you are not rationing your strength or timing your sail changes for when someone younger is aboard. The torque math is simple. the handle puts you back in control, no matter what the calendar says. Paul sets up a load cell on the bench, clamps a Genoa sheet, and dials in a steady 400 pounds of pull, the kind you meet when you are trying to grind in the last few inches under load. He slips the electric winch handle into the socket and squeezes the trigger. The torque meter climbs smoothly, 80 Newton meters, then 100 Newton meters, with barely a sound from the motor. That is more than double what most 60-year-olds can manage on a good day, and it holds steady for the full haul. No gasping, no strained tendons, just controlled, repeatable power. The numbers do not flatter anyone. A fit sailor in his 30s might hit 50 Newton meters for a burst, maybe 60 with both hands and a red face. By 60, most of us are running at 30 Newton meters or less, and that is before the shoulder aches start. The electric handle does not get tired. It does not care about birthdays, bad knees, or old injuries. It just keeps turning, delivering the torque you had in your prime every single time. Now the money. Converting 4 winches to electric, 2 primaries, a halyard, and a main sheet runs about $4,000 per winch installed. That is $16,000 before you have even paid the electrician. The portable handle costs about $2,500. One tool, every winch. The math is blunt. For the price of a single electric winch, you electrify your whole boat. The rest stays in your pocket or goes toward your next passage. This is not about buying a gadget to avoid hard work. It is about restoring the margin that age has taken away. With the silent crew in your hand, you can reef sooner, trim faster, and sail with the confidence you had 20 years ago without mortgaging the boat or your pride. That is the payoff, numbers on a meter, dollars on a page, and 10 more years at the helm. A boom brake does not just add another line to your deck. It changes the physics of every gybe. Think about what actually happens when the boom swings across without friction. It accelerates from rest to full speed in less than a second, often around 0.8 seconds from one side to the other on a 35-foot boat in a fresh breeze. That is a kinetic spike, pure and simple. The kind of force that turns a gybe into a trip to the emergency room if you are in the wrong place at the wrong time. Introduce a friction brake and you are not stopping the boom, you are bleeding off that energy over time. With the brake set for cruising, the same boom might take 4 seconds to cross. That is a 5-fold slowdown. The impact force drops with the speed. What used to feel like a baseball bat now feels like a firm push. The numbers are simple. Force equals mass times acceleration. And if you stretch out the crossing from under a second to several seconds, you are cutting the acceleration and the risk by a huge margin. Adjustment comes down to line friction. More wraps on the drum or higher tension on the control line, and the brake soaks up more energy. Less tension, and the boom moves more freely. It is not guesswork. You can actually measure the difference. Overlay a timer on slow-motion footage, and you will see the boom arc go from a blur to a steady, deliberate swing. That is not just comfort, it is injury prevention you can see. For experienced sailors, that difference is the gap between a bruised ego and a broken rib. The boom brake turns a dangerous moment into a manageable maneuver every single time. Pad eyes are the unsung heroes of a boom brake install, but only if they are anchored right. Each one takes the force of a loaded boom, hundreds of pounds in a gybe, so a simple self-tapper or an undersized washer is not just a shortcut, it is a liability. The right way starts with a full backing plate, stainless or G10, at least 3 by 6 inches for most 35-footers, and 4 by 8 if you are pushing 40 feet or more. That spreads the load across the deck, turning a single violent tug into a manageable force the laminate can handle. Drill your holes over size, carve out the core, and fill with thickened epoxy before re-drilling to final size. That isolates the core, keeps water out, and stops the deck from crushing under load. Bolt through, torque until the bedding just begins to squeeze out, and double-check there is no flex or movement under pressure. For a typical install, parts and consumables run about $600, less than a new head sail, and a fraction of what a hospital visit would cost. The real proof is not in the invoice, it is in the first controlled gybe. Ease the main, set the brake, and watch the boom cross in slow motion. No snap, no panic, just a steady, deliberate swing. Run your hand along the control line and check for chafe at every stanchion and fair lead. If you find a hotspot, reroute or add a low-friction ring. The checklist is simple: solid pad eyes, smooth line run, no sharp bends, and no mystery noises when the boom moves. When every knot is secure and every fitting passes the lean and pull test, you have finished the job. The safety perimeter is complete. That is how you turn a dangerous moment into a routine maneuver and add years to your sailing life. Right now, more sailors face early retirement from the water, not by choice, but by design. The right upgrades turn age from a barrier into an advantage, letting experience, not muscle, decide when your voyage ends. Every season you keep, you win back on your own terms. The open water is still yours if you choose to claim it. Share your next upgrade in the comments below.